Good evening, everyone in North America and associated regions. This is the A Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 3 playoffs for the Open League. I'm Esmar, joined by Vortex of Doom.
Yeah, really excited for this matchup. These are the two top teams pretty comfortably the whole season long in the Tower of Hera division. We have Eykir representing 16-bit nerds and shkoople of We Need a Mentor. Both teams kind of ran wild on the rest of the division overall and split last week in a pretty exciting series for Co-op Randomizer Week. So this should be a really good race.
Yeah, and speaking of the race, how exactly are the races for these playoff matches being determined here? I see we have a starting sword and a starting boots.
Yeah, so this is casual boots. This is the Pendant of Wisdom players. At the beginning of the season, each team designated one of their players to be Courage, Wisdom, and Power. The Wisdom players for playoffs do a casual boots mode, which is standard start, sword assured, and starting boots.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we see a slight stream lead to shkoople, but Eykir close behind in stream time here. Both runners neck and neck, pretty much. This first part of a casual boot seat is fairly standard. Nothing too special outside of the odd, possibly exciting item. But it is a nice way to get these checks sort of off the table, so you don't have to route them in later.
Yeah, it's really nice to get. I see the guards are in the bomb prize pack, and we got some bombs in Link's house as well. You don't need bombs to do the back of escape checks like you would in a non-boot start, since you can bunk the wall open, but it is really nice to not have to worry about what you're going to do about bombs before going into Kakariko.
Yeah, casual boots start is it's sort of a slower start, but it's really consistent, and that's one of the things that a lot of players like about it. It sort of gets you on your feet as sort of a matter of course. We see the book, so again, that's sort of our first hint showing up. It just gives you a set play of things to do while you're gathering your clues for where you want to head next.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a map check yet, but I think we will probably see a trip to Desert Palace sometime over the course of this game, with starting boots and a book that early.
Yeah, so I guess as we're heading through this sort of obligatory opening section, is there any particular insight on either of these players that you have to share?
I don't know much about Eykir as a player, other than that I know he's very solid. But shkoople is my teammate. I am a member of We Need a Mentor. And
no bias.
Yeah, he is quite frankly a monster in the making. As far as this game goes, he is has such clean execution for the amount of time he's been playing, and I have beaten him once or twice in casual pickup races, so he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't like slow checks, which, might be why I lose, because I tend to be really thorough. But I think we'll have to see how this race unfolds. He definitely does have a bit of an edge coming out of Escape.
Yeah, if I remember, shkoople was one of the two finalists of the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament in their respective bracket of that. It was Shkoople versus Floyd, and Floyd, I believe, is one of the members of the 16-bit nerds.
Floyd was one of the members of the 16-bit nerds. Unfortunately, last week during our first matchup, he disappeared mid-game. His team hasn't heard from him, and no one else has either. So he's been replaced for the moment, for the duration of this season, essentially, by Purdy Wong. But yeah, we're not to bring down the mood at the beginning of a hype matchup, but definitely I've been thinking a lot about Floyd this week. So
yeah, both of them very, very good players. I remember watching a lot of those Mentor Tournament matchups and just seeing the amount of fresh blood coming up is nice.
We saw a shovel in Dark Cross, which definitely something that's nice to have before your first visit to CAC. If you can't combo it in with Mirror or something, so you can just finish off there instead of at race game, as I expect both of our runners would have otherwise.
Yeah, I do. Did we see the map? Or
map was in Boomerang Chest. So the last
we're
item.
See something in the Sanctuary then.
Yep.
Just 10 arrows. So Book and Shovel, not the most exciting items to see in Escape, but the real treasure trove is, as we all know, Kakariko Village.
We see one of the 5/6 crystals at Eastern Palace, and the other two were just normal crystals. The nice thing about Book and Shovel is they do at least point in a direction, even if it's a pretty limited one. And we see the Fire Rod in Bonk Rocks, which is
the better of the two rods to get early, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The number of times you see that nice early Ice Rod only to find out that Turtle Rock is a pendant.
Yeah, that Fire Rod is very nice, because now we're actually only a glove from being able to clear. Oh, and we see the Moon Pearl on the Lumberjack ledge, which...
Yeah, see, that's why in any boot start seed, I maintain that it's usually worth your time to check, because all you are is Aga access away from being able to get that item.
It's really interesting, because I know Shkoople has, at least in the past, just straight up skipped that check.
Yeah, I'll skip it in modes where I don't start with boots, and if I don't have boots, then I'll consider it safer to skip it, because they need to show up before I can pick it up anyway. But knowing that the Moon Pearl is there, as both runners do, they're going to be itching to climb up Aga's Tower.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see any hesitation to climb it once there's access.
And we're only 2 items away from logical access. Do we see Dark Aga from either of these runners?
Ah, man, I'd be tempted getting that Fire Rod so free. I think I'd be more likely to if I got a Master Sword than if I got a cape, just because, I don't know, like,
the hardest part of the
is
Dark
going to be
Aga
Light
climb.
World at this point, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
I think
it could
also
it
if you
could be.
see both Hammer and Glove before the lamp, I think would be a necessary condition to doing Dark Aga, because unless that Moon Pearl is doing you some good, no point rushing it dark. But what I was going to say is I know Shkoople, even with boots, has often skipped checking that Lumberjack check, because if you can't get it right this second, it's not important. There's access to Aga Tower with the cape.
Yeah, so now after Eykir picks up theirs and bow. Flippers. Anything but the lamp showing up here. So as soon as the lamp shows up, that is logical access to the Aghanim boss fight, and thus the Moon Pearl. And so yeah, Wow. Wow.
This seed is really interesting so far. Getting the mirror early. I know it often is. Runners don't like having to do AGA, but like knowing you have to, and having so much gated by doing it, you can actually see some pretty fast seeds come out of AGA required seeds, because the climb itself is really only a 2-3 minute investment at worst.
Yeah, certainly being able to know that you have to do it early. The AGA required, the downside of that comes from when you absolutely last location everything, hoping you don't have to do it. But if you can sniff it out, it often lays out the seed in a really nice way afterwards too. It makes it slightly easier to read than if you say get Dark World access at 3 minutes.
Ooh, shkoople remembering he has that shovel, almost forgetting and saving and quitting.
Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make. I mean, not the worst thing in the world, but if it's something important, you may as well check it early.
So the question here is, does shkoople go South Shore, or does he go... I think he goes to Eastern. I think he'd really like to take that book to Desert with a glove, but okay, he's making a liar out of me.
Well, with the boots, this isn't a terrible.
No,
terrible
I think
with the boots and the flippers.
Yeah, I think we see him head over to Ice Ride Cave and Flipper checks before going to Desert, but I think it's pretty likely. I honestly, I'm surprised to see neither runner just go to Eastern first. It's a crystal. It is, well, I guess you have the mirror at this point, so maybe you have the mirror and know you need to do AGA. So never mind, I get it.
Yeah, if you'd really like to route a pod in there as well. If you can hit that area up later, you go for all the other checks and hope that you don't need anything in there right away. And with that hammer, that's actually significant Dark World access after AGA.
Yeah, that we got the whole South Dark World available to us logically.
And there's the glove. So how greedy do they want to get here for those dungeon double dips? It's really nice to do Pod and Eastern at the same time. It's also nice to do Mire and Desert at the same time. But do they hold out for Desert access, or do they follow that book and do that before AGA?
I think doing a Crystal Dungeon before AGA it's not super likely to bite you.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the Desert Palace play here, personally.
Yeah, I can see waiting on Eastern, even doing Dark... Oh, yeah, with Half Magic,
Half Magic and Fire Rod makes Eastern a very quick dungeon.
Desert.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Desert.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I said. Don't... Yeah, I obviously said that.
But yeah, I think we're kind of likely to see a Dark AGA if Lamp is in Eastern area at this point.
Yeah. The nice thing about, again, the Fire Rod for Desert Palace is the Landmose boss fight is one of those boss fights that a lot of the time it's actually worthwhile to put off just to make the boss fight faster. If you have to do it with, just regular arrows or a fighter sword, it's a much longer fight than if you have some better equipment.
Right. And there's our Lamp, so Dark AGA not happening.
Yeah, nice. It's a nice skip of the hobo for Eykir there.
Actually,
it's only a shield.
Okay, so shkoople doesn't want to orphan Zora. Gonna be missing out on his Lamp. I think he's gonna do Dark AGA though, which honestly I don't. Okay, never mind. Proven me wrong again. Taking the Desert Agina route.
Now, despite this sort of seemingly early lead, sort of, I guess, taken here by Eykir, you know, even with shkoople getting to that, I guess, tower play a little bit later, after that point, it's still wide open after that.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of time to be made and lost.
I think the reason I was expecting to see a Dark Aga from shkoople is he doesn't want to orphan the Zora area. He has Mirror. He can check Catfish with that. He could have comboed Desert with Bombo's Tablet. I thought the save and quit was for a Dark Aga play. So Eykir is the one making the call to go. You know, you'd love to see a Master Sword, but you know your Pearl's there. You have your Dark World access. You're not going to put it off any longer.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm Eykir here, I'm feeling really good about this. You know, I found that access really quickly. It's all in logic, and you're set up so well for the Dark World afterwards. You don't even have to just save and quit. Well, you do have to save and quit to get the Moon Pearl, but after that, you can take your pick of any of the entrances. You can go back, start at Pyramid, and go into Eastern Pod area if you want. You can really take your pick. You can do anything except hookshot over to Village of Outcasts.
Well, you can't hookshot over to Village of Outcasts, but you can get to the Village of Outcasts just by using the normal Dark World portal. So
it would be nice to hookshot in this situation, though, since we do have the boots and the mirror. Can route that north side from right to left, which you don't usually see very often.
Ooh, and getting 300 rupees out of Desert. That is, honestly, I'm sure exactly what shkoople wanted to see. Now,
yeah, that's a nice Zora money.
Were to do Aga and get his Pearl, go back, you could... I'd hope he would go to Pod first, just to get that money and get it replaced with whatever's in the basement. But take care of all of that at once. Yeah, really nice find there. Meanwhile, Eykir is at the top of Aga Tower, and we get to play a little game. We don't have an official bot for this one, like for the GT Big Key guessing game, but let's try to guess how many blue balls Aga 1 is going to give us today.
It's going to be 4.
I'm going to say 3.
Now, looking ahead into the seed, we've actually got a lot of a fair number of logical clears that usually we don't see so early. I think Pod isn't completely in logic.
Yep. Not from shkoople's perspective, it's not, but we know that the lamp is logically available. Well, and I guess he knows that when getting to Pod is in logic, all of Pod will be in logic, even if he doesn't have the lamp, because he has because having the Moon Pearl necessitates having the lamp. And I didn't keep track of the count there.
Yeah, I'm just letting chat count it. I fully admit to being a lazy bones there.
Eykir. Just making sure he doesn't, trying to make sure he doesn't mirror. Oh, and that was just one blue ball. That was all I actually saw. So, nice.
Well, technically, each instance of the blue balls is actually 6 blue balls because they're small and they split.
Oh, and that nice quick swap mirror from Sank there. Gets you straight to that entrance. And so we'll see where shkoople goes here.
Yeah, shkoople wants the lamp, I think. At this point, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and I mean, the upside is if the lamp isn't here, which it very well might be, you're not out too much efficiency, and
Right.
it's pretty
You don't have
obvious
to mirror to
where
do
go
these
next.
checks. You don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in this position, if I'm shkoople, I'm going to be like, okay, well, I don't want to put off Eastern just because I don't want to do it early, because if the lamp's there, then I know exactly what I have to do. If the lamp isn't there, I got another crystal dungeon done, and I know, like, 90% that the lamp is going to be in those Flipper Zora checks.
Okay, well, having some stream issues from shkoople here.
We have Pendant Pod.
Um,
So actually, this is kind of nice for shkoople if there's nothing in Pendant Pod, because the value of doing Pod and Eastern together is now very greatly diminished, I would say.
yeah, so I think our pendants were Thieves Town, Swamp, and Hookshot, or and Pod. Sorry. So I think we're Hookshot away from Ped being in Logic. Interestingly, that none of the pendant dungeons require mitts to access or clear. And we get the other bow in the compass chest of Eastern. Meanwhile, Eykir is going to show us what shkoople got when his stream was frozen. Part container, 3 bombs, and the powder. Definitely a nice thing to have. And it's a check we can do now. Just a compass in the vanilla big key chest. So the 50-50 not paying off for shkoople. From his perspective, lamp could still be on Armos, since the big key was earlier.
Those silvers are such a good find. It really makes this dip very uncostly. Like, not only is it a fast dip, but it isn't made any faster by coming back with oh, you could have done it later with silvers.
Very true.
Because again, Armos Knights is another one of those bosses that, despite being an early game boss and a very easy fight, in terms of difficulty, it's never hard, but in terms of speed, it can be very different depending on your inventory. Always a quick kill with the silver arrows, and our first bottle.
The second crystal on the board for shkoople. So at this point, Eykir has a castle tower and moon pearl on shkoople, and shkoople has about half an Eastern as well as desert palace. We'll need to see if Eykir decides to skip the vanilla big key chest, or if he decides to play it safe.
I think so. Here's another factor here. Eykir is certainly like 100% going to be going into pod after this. So Eykir's got an advantage if there's something in pod. Shkoople, if there is something in pod, isn't going to be hitting up pod anytime super soon necessarily. Just because the value is a little bit diminished without Eastern. I also do, sort of like I mentioned earlier, like this play to go to the waterfall fairy and stuff here. Just because, as I mentioned, since you went through Eastern and you didn't get it, you didn't get the lamp that you knew had to be showing up. At least you know what's going on up here, you know. Unfortunately, 13 rupees short of being able to pay the piper here. There they are.
I'm not
I wonder
a fan
if he
of
considered picking those up and checking Zora.
I'm not well, I think if he does catfish with Zora money, he'll wait on catfish till he has Zora money.
Yeah, that's not too big of a deal. I like that play if you're not confident in your Dark Aga. If you are confident in your Dark Aga, I think it's totally you would almost prefer to do Dark Aga than that. Yeah, so let's pay attention to Eykir here and see what Eykir finds in the Palace of Darkness. Because if any critical item shows up there, it may or may not be a while until Shkoople gets around to checking that. Pod is a pretty rich dungeon.
Finding both bows as well really does, in my experience, point as much to pod as Eastern. If the game really wants you to have something that's in there, you'll get the bows early more often than not.
I almost feel like what I would prefer to do here is just go straight Skull Woods after grabbing the Moon Pearl. Beat Aga, grab the Moon Pearl, and go straight into Skull Woods. You've been able to clear it the entire game pretty much. We've had Fire Rod since Bonk Rocks.
Oh.
And then
Hammer was the dam. To answer the question in chat, I wonder, did Eykir... Okay, so Eykir hasn't done dam yet, which is... That is pretty significant, because
I was kind of wondering if Eykir pulled a vortex and forgot to open the chest inside.
No, I think...
So
that's interesting. That would
2
almost
hours and 11 minutes in.
That could almost be bad for Eykir if he finds the mitts in Palace of Darkness. That could send him doing all sorts of Dark World stuff without the hammer.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed that Eykir never picked that up, but it's very true. That's not a good item to not have in Palace of Darkness, as it happens. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, I think in Shkoople's position here, I don't know what Shkoople would do, but I would go straight for Skull Woods and then start clearing Dark World Overworld.
Yeah, I think getting that Moon Pearl off Lumberjack before really having the opportunity to dip pod will definitely nudge Shkoople in that direction. Eykir hadn't been to the eastern area at all, so pod was a much more attractive proposition.
It also shores up the, the potential. Shkoople is right now just banking crystals, just putting them away. I mean, if at this point, you clear 2 before doing the inevitable Aga, you just go quick knock out another one in Skull Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, see what you can find in the Dark World Overworld checks, and then just go up the mountain with the mirror and the hammer, and check that stuff that way if you haven't seen Hookshot by then, and then do Hera while you're up there.
I think as much as I liked Eykir's routing earlier, I think Shkoople's routing is going to have given him Man, what tense is that? I'm not sure. I think past perfect, maybe? Regardless, shkoople's routing is going to give him a much clearer idea of when and whether he needs to dive pendants.
Yeah, and
so he is going to be... So Skull Woods is the last... I guess he has Hera that he'll have available as well.
And we're one item away from being able to clear all 3 pendants. So if the hookshot shows up, the pedestal is in play.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, see, I almost wonder at this point, is it worth it to not save and quit after picking up the Moon Pearl and just walk to the warp? Those are the little questions that you sometimes need to ask yourself when you're really trying to optimize your rando race game. Is okay, when is a save and quit faster, and when is it not faster? Meanwhile, Eykir picking up the hammer from the dam.
And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him go straight to the Dark World portal, check Hype Cave and Bombo's tablet on the way into Desert, which he will probably be cleaning up here.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Unless he really wants to hope for... Yeah, he's not going to the Dark World.
Guess not.
But I think that would have been the smarter play.
Yeah, well,
checking Bombo's tablet, you can't pick up the item because we only have 1 sword.
Well, but if it's nothing, that saves you time.
Right,
but
exactly.
I think... To Eykir's credit and his decision making here, like, it gets super awkward if you try to do that. It takes away the option of doing Hype Cave up to Stumpy and Dig Game, or like makes those checks a lot more orphaned. And this is a dungeon he has to do anyway, so I don't hate this.
Interesting, Shkoople going straight up the mountain after picking up the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, I don't hate this either. The mountain has a lot of checks available to him, and is all in logic. So
yeah, it's not quite as like it is really nice to be able to go up the mountain for the first time with the mitts and be able to do literally everything up there. But yeah, there is a fully clearable pendant just waiting up here. Now getting the Dark World information. Yeah, sorry, crystal, not pendant. So yeah, that also probably influenced the decision a little bit. Shkoople didn't do the Dark World map check after defeating Aga 1. And speaking of map checks, with our pendant crystal layout, we do know which items we need for go mode. So we need to finish Misery Mire and Turtle Rock, so we will need at least 1 medallion, and as many as 2. And we will need the Ice Rod yet, and the Cane of Samaria, and the Hook Shot, as well as the Flute. So we're still far from go mode, but we've got the roadmap. We know which items we really like to see.
Yep. And we've got an awful lot open to us still at this point. Interestingly, Eykir also making the play to the mountain before heading to Dark World. This could be a defensive route on the part of both runners. From their perspective, there was a lot of Light World available before Aga that the other runner might have sequence broken the mountain. I don't know why well, maybe if you didn't have the lumberjack knowledge, you might have done that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it sort of reduces the value of clearing the main world of the overworld, the dark overworld stuff. If, say, you're missing things like the hook shot,
right.
If you find the hook shot on the mountain, then cool, that's one less thing you have to be thorough looking for before you finally decide to go up. And there's enough stuff between a crystal dungeon that you have to do anyway and Paradox Cave that the time investment is worth it, even though you are committing to another trip eventually.
And so I believe, since Shkoople checked the big chest, I have to assume the map was in the compass chest. We see the compass on Moldorm, and now Shkoople has a choice to make. Will he go back for Hera Basement? I suspect that... Okay, well, clearly
you suspect that he will. You suspect that he will. That's what you're going to say.
Yeah, I was actually not. I won't even pretend.
Well, I will pretend for you.
Shkoople does not like this check. This is easily his most famously hated check in the game.
Yeah, I mean, saying you don't like this check, that's nothing. It's nothing special, but yeah, this is it's a rough check, and especially, you know, with Herapot becoming increasingly common, there's almost always an excuse to not do it, unless there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an item in there, you know, it's... I'm gonna say that this play is because Shkoople doesn't want to lose to Hera Basement. You know,
Yeah, I think
you've got to make a stand somewhere.
This says a little about Shkoople's mindset of this race, which I think he's saying that... I think he's betting that he will out-execute, which both runners are executing very well. No major hiccups on either side. So, but I think Shkoople is saying that he is going to be thorough and making Eykir beat him on execution.
Yeah, the nice thing about this routing too is you get to check Spiral Cave really nicely here before, you know, doing other things. If you decide to come here, say you had the hook shot, and you go to the right side first, then you usually would see the runners clear Tower of Hera, you know, check Paradox Cave, go over clear Tower of Hera, and then come back for Spiral Cave. This way works really nicely because you check Spiral Cave, jump down, which you have to do after Spiral Cave anyway. Go check Paradox Cave. If you bomb jump over across the top, then you can go back over and check Spike Cave. Because with the half magic and the cape, that's in logic right now. So
Yeah,
that's
thinking
one
about it,
less thing to leave sitting up here.
yeah, Spike Cave is not only doable with this equipment, it's in logic, and there's our hook
There's
shot.
the hook shot.
I'm okay. So if both runners next
anything
stop
else we need
isn't,
could be on ped.
yeah, if both runners next stop is not immediately go to Skullwoods and check ped after, I will be flabbergasted.
Yeah, it's such an obvious play at this point. And that's, again, an advantage to going to the mountain first, because if you hadn't gone... I mean, we would have seen the ped check probably anyway, even if we hadn't had the hook shot. But having the hook shot means that these runners are paying attention, which at this stage in the tournament, I am assuming they are. It's very clear to these runners that getting all of the items for all of the pendant dungeons, especially when you've got Pod and Swamp as pendants... That's almost begging for you to go check the pendant or the pedestal, you know.
And yeah, Shkoople continuing to surprise me. Though actually, this routing isn't too bad. He checked the shovel, but he has his bottle to check. He has magic bat to check. Is he going straight into Pendant Swamp? This is a wild choice.
Yeah, it seems that way. But again, just as I was saying a second ago about pedestal, it seems like it's signaling pedestal. Think about how early on we got all of the items to access this. You know, we got the mirror, the flips, you know, all of that stuff was just right there in CAC. Like this has been in logic for a while, especially his first couple of chests. So shkoople might be banking on this seed is going to make me dive into this dungeon quick. And as far as pendant dungeon setups go, really one of the only worse options for this,
pulling the ice rod out of the first chest.
And that's exactly why shkoople's doing this. Like the only worse setup you could get in terms of check density is Turtle Rock instead of Thieves Town. This is a very item dense pendant dungeon layout.
Yeah, that's very true.
Swamp Pod and Thieves Town is put together. That's a number of checks that I can't be bothered to count. 15. I can do math. It could only be boosted by 1 if you.
Yeah, and as Shireen
Turtle Rock instead.
As Shireen is saying in chat, we're likely missing 4 items: the flute, Samaria, mitts, and another medallion at least. And this will give him more information on whether to commit to Pendant Thieves Town when he gets to Village, or, potentially could even avoid going there at all.
Yeah, the cane shows up in the Village of Outcasts. Not going to make that much difference. It is slightly relevant for Swamp Palace, given the diver down. And the fact that Ice Rod was so early on in Swamp could be a little bit bad news for shkoople here. Just in case that's like the last thing that, Eykir needs at that point, and ends up, just dipping in, and then you can dip out right away, and shkoople doesn't find anything else for the rest of the dungeon. But Eykir, meanwhile, though, picking up the Master Sword in the front of Thieves Town, something that would be very nice for shkoople to have at this point. Fighter Sword Argus is doable, but a little slow and a little irritating.
We got the big key, so there are at least 2 items. There will be at least 2 items remaining in Swamp after shkoople finishes off Argus here.
Yeah, the big key was picked up, and we saw the compass. I suppose it's depending on exactly how shkoople's feeling about that, but it's not the worst redive to go get the big chest. Rediving for left side is a little more of an investment. Rediving for the chest is actually deceptively quick.
Eykir, also surprising me, in retrospect, going to Village of Outcast for Skullwoods, though I suppose getting the sword out of it is pretty much why he would do that.
Yeah,
and it's clear that Skullwoods into Ped is definitely his goal here.
Yeah, the one
I think
one
with
thing
half magic, I take the rougher moth fight. I mean, just to have a little more info on whether I should finish Pendant Thieves when I go there.
Yeah, I mean, I think half magic plus fire rod is enough for me to feel comfortable rushing Mothula. Not necessarily, comfortable that I'll 100% beat it. I've known myself to choke many a time on Mothula. But I mean, I've having the Master Sword there is really nice. Those spins help out. Spins do more damage than the fire does. Checking it first.
Getting the bad news that there are 3 items remaining. Okay, so this is a Ped seed.
Yep,
that
Ped seed
was the flute on the pedestal.
So that means that all of this time that shkoople spent in there was necessary. All dungeons. Yep. All dungeons actually required for this seed.
So shkoople or Eykir will actually be kind of ahead. And honestly, with 3 items remaining in there, if Eykir isn't in go mode,
I would say at this point, Eykir's the front of Thieves Town behind. Gonna have to do those 3 screens again.
But as long as Eykir is not in go mode by the time he gets to swamp with three required items in
Oh, that's right. Eykir has dipped pod too, so pod's gonna be faster. Never mind what I said.
with 3 items remaining in swamp, if Eykir isn't in go mode already, I can't imagine not going back in for those.
Yeah. Yeah, so the thing here is Eykir now knows where the flute is. As soon as going into swamp is going to come very soon because you need to do it for the pendant. And if you don't have everything you need, you're going to check the chest that the ice rod is in. So I guess the biggest mystery is going to be which medallion is Meyer.
Yeah, and we're still looking for those Titansmiths, so it's going to be a little while before we find out. But we are running out of places that they can be. They're not in Hype Cave. They're not in the front of Thieves or the village. It's looking like we've got Dig Game, Stumpy, Cave 45 at this point, and our runners are going to converge on those pretty quick.
Dig Game, Stumpy, Cave 45, and then we've got Northside Dark World, Catfish, Zora. And of course, stuff like Helmassar.
Green Pendant. So yeah,
Green Pendant turn in, which Shkoople, this is actually kind of okay for Shkoople, because now Shkoople has, can turn in that Green Pendant upon going to pod and checking all that.
Yep. All right, so
we're gonna see what's on Bombos too. Hopefully it's not something good, because Shkoople doesn't have the Master Sword and Eykir will.
Not only that,
something important, Eykir's gonna get it.
Swamp done already. Okay, just Couch Cash. Cool. So
to answer the question in chat, Croy Baker, this is the Open League. So this is the I don't want to call them the Little League, because these are some serious heavy hitters here. Especially these 2 runners in front of us. They're veritable titans of their division here. It's a hotly contested division between these 2 teams mostly. Eykir going ahead and checking the north side of the Dark World. And there we go, Stumpy. That's fantastic for Shkoople. So now Shkoople doesn't have to even stop. Shkoople can go straight into Village of Outcasts after this.
It's fantastic in the sense of his routing, but that's one less thing that Eykir will think about going to left side swamp for.
Yeah. That left side swamp is unfortunate, but kind of inevitable given Shkoople's routing decision there.
In fact, I actually don't think we see Eykir check left side anymore. With 2 medallions. Wait, where?
Yeah.
Hey, where was Quake actually?
Quake
does Eykir have it?
I don't think so. I remember it showing up.
If it was, I think it was Hype Cave. So Eykir will have that before doing Swamp. With 2 medallions, I don't think you banked left side on either.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to left side just for ether.
Because Eykir will be at most 1 item from go as soon as he gets that ice rod.
The flip side is, as you said, if Shkoople is relying on his execution, and if that reliance is rewarded, left side swamp is an okay amount of time to lose. If you're counting on having good execution.
And Shkoople will get to go mode pod on the other end, probably as a...
Yeah, finding nothing in a check like left side swamp is something that you're less comfortable with the more you rely on on really good or fortuitous routing choices. A player like me, I do not rely on straight execution. If I'm going to left side, I need it to be a big play for me. And the better you are at the game, the less that's going to matter to you, because you're going to be able to make up that time. The one sort of unfortunate thing here is shkoople is going to be going up through the Village of Outcasts, not knowing that it's a ped seed. So it's probably not going to be able to...
He's probably going to do Skullwoods first.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Which is unfortunate.
Might decide to dip front of Thieves Town, because that's pretty reasonable.
I think having...
No, I guess, no, yeah, he's up here. He's not in the Dark World. He doesn't have his portal. He's just going to take this, go straight out. Yeah. This makes sense. And again, that's a little bit of time that was saved, just movement-wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's getting the information slower than Eykir. Eykir's got the game plan a few steps out of shkoople at this point, but because of the routing and because of where shkoople went first, spending a little extra time, but being thorough enough to sort of leave a trail of anti-breadcrumbs, sort of, if you will. Because now that shkoople was thorough in Swamp, it's gonna make where to check next sort of a lot easier to sort of suss out. Yeah, and as far as checking ped goes, I don't think there's a world in which you get the mirror that early. The mirror and fire out that early, and you go do Skullwoods as your crystal dungeon, and you don't check the ped.
Yeah, well, especially when you have a pendant already, like...
Right. It's like, I spent all that time doing Pendant Swamp Palace, and I only got an Ice Rod out of it. I better save time by, not screen transitioning once and pressing the X button. A button? I don't remember.
Welcome, by the way, the raid from SpeedGaming 3. We got ourselves a nice little all dungeons casual boot seed here. We have the flute on ped and Moon Pearl was on lumberjack. So despite having the capability to get into Dark World, or to take the Dark World portals, we couldn't do much there without doing Aga. So definitely watching both runners here, and it's going to be a race to the finish probably as soon as shkoople reads ped, pending that Bombos medallion.
Unfortunately, shkoople uses up a lot of that magic, so he's going to have to rely on the fighter sword spins for this fight. I think that is the superior play versus, trying to conserve your magic for an easier boss fight, because conserving your magic for an easier boss fight is slow. And especially when you're as confident as shkoople is in your execution, you don't need that magic. I would like to have that magic, but knowing when to decide you don't need it can save you a lot of time, because he got right in there, got his fourth crystal. Shkoople's 4 crystals in.
So I saw Eykir run over by desert. Did he go in?
Just went to Agina.
Wow. Okay. So Eykir
didn't even check ledge.
Okay.
And so probably isn't even going to go back there until getting the flute, honestly. Knowing that the flute's there, just go grab the flute, turn it in, and then do Desert and Mire at the same time.
And so shkoople's going to one-shot Thieves Town here.
Hold up. Did shkoople check the ped?
He did. He saw it.
Okay. He moved too fast for me. I think I got caught up in watching Eykir, and I didn't notice that happen. But sort of as I mentioned earlier, that's really not a whole lot of time to lose. So yeah, so now shkoople knows that that flute is there. They both know they have to clear all the dungeons, so Eykir is actually going to go here and clear out Swamp. And so we'll probably be skipping left side, because the only thing that Eykir will need at that point is Ether Medallion to seal the deal. And that's... Left side is a pretty big investment for that. The Ice Rod was not in left side Swamp. The Ice Rod is actually in the first chest that you bomb the wall open for. So Eykir will be able to pretty safely skip left side, knowing that, you know, you've got all of Ice Palace, Mire area, Turtle Rock, Dark Death Mountain, that could all have that last medallion, even if you need it in the first place. Yeah, it's essentially Ice Rod Go mode for Eykir. With the asterisk of maybe you need to find Ether for one of the dungeons. And so Eykir's feeling pretty good. You know, sub hour no mode for Oops All Dungeons seed. Well, this isn't really technically Oops All Dungeons. That's when you don't need to do it. But this unexpected all dungeons, being almost at go mode after in 55 minutes you're feeling good about that. So essentially let's do the math here. So there are two possible dungeons that could both potentially be Ether. So the chances that neither of them are Ether is what, like 2 and 3 times 2? I struggle with math.
I think it's a little more complicated than
yeah, it's you don't just multiply it.
However, there is a 2 in 3 chance that they don't need, you know, there's only one medallion they could need. They've got, or Eykir's got 2. Shkoople did not do the North Dark World stuff, so that,
yeah. I mean,
though he is set up very well to do it after this, right?
Yeah,
he can't pull ped and get the flute, so
my
it does
issue with doing that is once he finds that cane, you know, he's in the position that all he needs is the flute and maybe 2 medallions. Do you commit the entire North Dark World loop, as nice as it is to route that all in, especially with, you know,
I mean,
Catfish and Zora and all that? Or do you just keep rushing dungeons? Because he's already got a dungeon lead.
I might consider running that way to pod, because that's one reason that you start Hype Cave like Shkoople did, is so that you don't have to choose between going south after Village and going north. You've already done the south, and then the north is all that's left. And without the flute, you know, you're gonna have a little run to pod anyway. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Shkoople skip it and just head straight to pod.
Yeah,
but again, if you find something else, if you find something else, then you can go mode pod, which, you know, sometimes it doesn't matter at all, but sometimes it's a huge time save to be able to go mode pod. And I think if Shkoople found that Bombos, he would indeed go mode pod.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you really need to start to be cognizant of as you start playing more of these seeds. You know, it is really nice to get as many checks as you can as fast as you can, but you have to start thinking, okay, you know, you have to spend time clearing dungeons. That's a given. So if you can find what you need while you're doing that, anytime you spend checking literally anything else is time you're losing, or time you're potentially not saving. It's nice if you find something you need on the way doing those extra checks, but if you didn't need to, that's time you're spending that your opponent might not be spending.
Right.
So as fast as it is to do those north checks, it's extremely reasonable to just say, no, I'm going to go straight to the next dungeon.
Yeah, and so after Shkoople gets Kane will be, I think, the moment of truth for him. Does he save and quit to the pyramid and go straight to pod? Or does he take a slightly longer trip over to North Dark World and clean everything else up? And obviously, like it could not matter. That's possible.
Yeah, for all we know, it's Quake and Quake. So after seeing
or Ether and Ether, or Ether
Yeah.
and it.
Yeah. So yeah, save and quit. We see a save and quit. I imagine Shkoople's going to be following Eykir right here into pod here.
And so, yeah, I think Shkoople is definitely a little bit behind here.
Yeah, especially given that what I said earlier about Eykir's most likely plans for desert. Gonna be, to do that routed in with Misery Mire. Medallion notwithstanding. So Shkoople's only lead in terms of dungeons right now is having cleared desert. That's a fast clear, and if Eykir can route it in with Mire, that time save kind of dissipates quite a bit. And add that to the fact that Shkoople's about to do pretty much all of pod, most likely, unless he's feeling very aggressive. Whereas Eykir's already, on his way to Helmsar King. So Eykir's, I think a lot of this is partially.
I think that being down 2 medallions instead of 1 definitely could be playing into this for Shkoople. But I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see him skip several guaranteed items, like Eykir did with Left Side Swamp.
Yeah,
it's definitely a bigger ask on 1 medallion than having 2.
And it's a harder sell in pod when you've got everything. You've got the mirror, you've got everything you need to make pod a pretty quick full clear. It's still a time sink, but it's kind of, with the mirror and all that stuff, you can basically be getting chests the whole time.
I think this race is very close if Bombos is not required. And I think Shkoople is in a very dangerous position if it is.
Yeah, the one sort of, saving grace is that, North Dark World that, along with the Zora check that he knows could be routed in with all that, it is a nice, efficient way to route all of those checks in, but on the other hand, it is a very slow route, so it's one you're going to get to later. Especially with having checked K45 and Dig Spot already. That's going to make Smiths really quick. If it comes down to a medallion hunt, because they're going to have the flute. And they're going to be free to just, mirror and flute all that stuff. So that's actually a lot quicker than it often can be. Silver linings, though. Shkoople has the silver arrows for Palace of Darkness here.
Yeah, definitely a more efficient full. Now is the choice. Does he? No, he's doing the back, which it makes perfect sense, and I would too.
There's too much stuff back there.
Yeah, he got 1 item in front. There's at least 3 items back there.
Nice, whatever you call that. I don't know what you call that, but it's slick, and I know that you know what it's called, right?
Yeah, I think it's often called the Pog clip.
That's an okay name.
I agree, but yeah, Shkoople not going to get much out of here.
Slide. He's going to get some rupees, though. That's nice. And a full refill from that fairy. Excellent. Always like to see that. Yeah, and it's sort of like you drew the comparison to Left Side Swamp, and it's in the same vein, but again, there's so many chests back here.
Now,
There's 4 on that side, 3 on this side.
So the Professor Enver in chat asked where Bombos was, and I honestly don't remember whether it was Graveyard Ledge or King's Tomb.
Graveyard Ledge. It was Graveyard Ledge.
So that is terrible for Shkoople if it's required, because I think it's likely that he mirrors after pod and saves and quits, maybe checks King's Tomb on his way to Ped. You know, it's also possible, I guess, that you would save and quit to Pyramid, check both on your way to Ped, which honestly, neither is a bad play. And choosing to do neither is also not a bad play, and just going to Ped and hoping the medallion you have is the one you need, because you haven't done any myth stuff other than Smiths and Hammer Pegs in Shkoople's shoes.
All right, so Eykir's the one to watch here. Let's see if we can catch the medallion check. Ether!
And we need Ether. Okay, so
this race is open again, but still lead to Eykir here.
Yeah, it depends what we need from Turtle Rock. For Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I'm at this point, my suspicion is that it's more likely right now for Turtle Rock to be Quake or Bombos and Ether shows up inside than it is to just randomly find Ether somewhere else. And again, it to me,
never mind.
And see, there it is. Exactly. Like there it is. Like it's more likely, never impossible. More likely. So Eykir in go mode. So 105.37 go mode for Eykir. And
okay, so Eykir has to clear desert.
Yeah, and again, that's
Shkoople,
not a deficit really in this scenario.
No, Shkoople's pod clear was faster and Thieves Town clear. His swamp clear and Hera clear were slower because he did go back in for the basement. So I think once I think we'll know where things stand pending TR medallion.
TR medallion.
Once the runners are done with their next couple minutes here.
If TR medallion is Bombos, this is going to be an almost impossible race for Shkoople to win, because Shkoople will have to spend that extra time to go find that Bombos medallion.
Yeah.
At this point, even now, if both of the medallions if the medallion for Turtle Rock is Ether or Quake, even now Shkoople has to just execute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shkoople is not as behind as he like. Back of Desert is not no time at all. Shkoople, if Bombos isn't required, Shkoople's making the right play.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling antsy for Shkoople here. No bias though. No bias.
I certainly am too. But yeah, I think if Bombos isn't required, this is an execution race, and if it is required, this is Eykir's race to lose at this point. That is about as orphaned as that check gets for Shkoople at this point.
I think the bigger question is whose Master Sword Silvers is better.
I haven't scouted either of them enough to know, but
Master Sword Silvers is an extremely important skill.
Shkoople picking up his flute as Eykir opens the back of Desert. So honestly, I think Shkoople will be probably about 15-20 seconds behind getting into Mire. He has Mire Shed to check and checkerboard, and then we'll definitely be heading right into Mire.
I think it'll be a little more than that. He's got the whole flute.
Oh yeah. I was
play out.
Flute and fanfare. So maybe about 30-40 seconds.
But yeah, it's a close race. This is going to be one of those that does come down to late game execution, GT routing, and Ganon fights. If there are any, not even major mishaps, minor mishaps in the Ganon fight could decide this race. Aga 2 is another potential time for significant chunks of time to be gained or lost.
Yeah, GT routing, Meyer routing. Some runners will do cutscene a little earlier, even not knowing the big key is in there. There are a couple hints you can get that suggest it.
Oh, I only know the one hint. Are there other hints?
Honestly, I'm only aware of one actually. So that was a miss.
I was hoping that would be a big learning opportunity. But the hint that we were referring to is the top Firelock's chest on the left side, right above the the area with the tile rim. If you find a small key in there, that guarantees that the big key is in fact, unfortunately, in the cutscene chest. In non-key sanity. Most of the time that's not what you see there, but if you do see a small key there, it guarantees that. Shkoople's so excited to pick up that ether medallion doesn't even bother mirror deletion of those blocks.
Okay, so it's a little bigger of a deficit. So Shkoople has an ether animation. And there's our big
Godmire. If Shkoople makes the Galaxy Brain play to check that Spike Room chest first, and get the Ultra Godmire.
I don't think missing a medallion he will. Like that's a
move you make like in co-op.
If I'm Eykir,
and your partner already told you where
I usually check that spike chest first in go mode, just because if it's neither of those places, you've lost no time, and if it's there, you gained a significant chunk of time by not having to check that bridge.
Or you could, just check the bridge. Always check the bridge second and just hover over if you need to. And the nice presence of mind to not flip the switch prematurely there. Remembering that you indeed have not been to the left side and didn't have to flip that switch. Honestly, this seed is a very nice seed. This is a seed I would be glad to play.
Yeah, I think...
Like, you get the Silver Super early, you get it for all of the Arrow bosses. It's just a brain game, It's nothing really breathing down your neck. That said, we are on Green Mail and Master Sword. That's nothing that these runners are going to be too worried about, but it can come into play later on, especially in GT and Turtle Rock to a certain extent. So yeah, Shkoople on the way to, en route to Vitreous. I've got to break that habit of saying it wrong. Just as Eykir is leaving the dungeon. So, it's close. Cold Stare is another spot where some time could be gained or lost. Shkoople setting up the spooky action there saves a little bit of time over Eykir in that basement. And
yeah, that's about a 12-second time save to do spooky there. It's nothing game breaking.
It would have been a time loss for Eykir to do spooky there, because Eykir would have had to reset it up by fluting to 6 again.
Yeah, it did definitely much more marginal.
First.
Yep. Apparently, if you do a pendant first, the pendant crystal animation or the pendant catching animation doesn't break spooky like the crystal one does.
Shkoople might clear that Pengator room.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Shkoople might pick up some of these extra chests in Ice Palace. Does Shkoople know the bomb strats for that room?
I think he does.
The bomb strats for that room are the coolest and the best, but I wish
honestly, I might check that room in Eykir's position I'd like another
Well,
sword.
You didn't. Eykir didn't check it, unfortunately. So.
Right, like, so it's Eykir seems to be very comfortable with the possibility of Master Sword Silver Ganon checking that chest for a key. I don't think he checks the next chest at this point. That's
again,
much
like
faster
I said,
than
with Go mode in a seed like this, where you got to do all the dungeons, getting Go mode this early, you're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. You're not going to be like, oh, can I like also do Tempered Sword Silver's Ganon? You
French
take your
vanilla
lumps and do
blue
Master
mail.
Sword Silver's Ganon. French vanilla blue mail, yeah. Yeah, Shkoople doing this room. You know, it could be a different Ganon fight if Shkoople gets an extra sword. But that one chance there didn't turn out so well.
Is hitting the switch, so I don't think we'll see a full clear here. This is definitely not full clear territory for Shkoople.
I mean, especially not after he grabs that blue mail, because that's 2 out of 3. And he's
no, that's
because there was 10 arrows in the chest there in the first chest.
I thought it was the map.
I thought it was 10 arrows.
But
yeah, and Shkoople had a cleaner icebreaker. That is a trick that is kind of trivial,
which is not to say that
isn't exactly trivial.
And Shkoople checking this too because it doesn't have that bombos, and
I mean,
so it's gonna check the big chest.
It's might not check. Well, he probably will. Yeah. It's like if you get the items in this order, none of the individual checks are so slow to do that you really feel like you can skip them unless you've got literally everything you need. Okay, Wareframe Fox in chat making a liar out of me. I thought it was 10 arrows. I'm just seeing arrows today.
Freezor chest.
In which case, that's another chance for
is a bridge too far, and big chest. I think Shkoople is really feeling the possibility that he is checking too much.
Yeah, it again, like I was saying, it's none of the individual checks are very slow, but like when you start doing all of them, eventually, especially if you race as much as these guys do, you really start to get a sense of like you feel it. You feel I'm losing time here.
Interesting from Eykir to go up the Dark World this way, needing to clear TR.
Well, I think it's the whole thing of, you know, if you haven't checked Super Bunny before GT, you do it, you know.
Yeah.
And isn't going to have an opportunity to check Super Bunny. I mean, after.
Well, I'd actually argue that it's faster to check Super Bunny after TR, since Eykir this way is going to have to.
Right. I
he
think
would
I'd
need to
rather
find a
check...
sword here for this to be worth it.
Yeah, I'd check this before TR, and then if I didn't find anything, I might consider checking Hookshot Cave after TR. But it's kind of a hard sell to check both Hookshot Cave and this before TR.
And it's bombos. So that's I think
that's
curtains.
Really bad news for Shkoople.
Not what I wanted to see, I'll be honest, but that
at least we can argue that it's not his fault, you know? That's always the great thing about Rando is you most of the time you can find a way that if you lost it wasn't your fault. But I mean in a very real sense that, you know, this was sort of no fault of Shkoople's play, because Shkoople has played the route that he's played excellently. So yeah, and unfortunately with that blue mail showing up, that's gonna leave a lot less hope for any Shkoople fans to hope that maybe Eykir messes up somehow. Yeah, and here now Shkoople's going to be checking all of these Dark Death Mountain checks. Yeah, so Shkoople in the unenviable position of needing his opponent to play poorly. Well, he doesn't know that. obviously, but
Getting the red mail. That's
ooh, that's gonna save him a lot of time. Oh, so is that boomerang.
So after this, I imagine we'll see Spike Cave. Then he might save and quit. And honestly, I think Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb are the clear next plays, unless he decides to walk out of Spike Cave, because he'll end up on the pyramid having killed Aga, and that's the reason they are the next logical play. I don't see any other world in which he checks them next.
Like, so because there's also the option of Smith Chain, Pyramid.
Well, Shkoople has done Smiths.
Wait, what's our
and Hammer
5/6?
Pegs.
Oh, Shkoople has done Smiths. Oh, that's
yeah.
right. I remember seeing him do that. That's right. So I guess it would just be purple chest. It would, yeah, and that's not really worth it. Yeah,
so
and
honestly, I
also
think
keeping in mind when the items showed up, Mirror's been in our inventory since Bottle Vendor, and Moon Pearl's been since we finished Aga 1. So those checks have been in Logic for a long time.
And yep, that's not going to be our next play. I think Pyramid Fairy is going to be next. Then maybe, I mean, he's got so little left. It's got to be right after that. You do that before Catfish, I think, every time. So.
I mean, maybe not right after checking Pyramid Fairy, but
it's definitely faster to do Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb before Catfish rather than after. Just you hop back into the water and swim across, and that's the... So yeah, this is honestly, this is a big getting bit by the Hype Cave start for Shkoople, because
I was just about to sort of break that up, because it may look at first glance like, oh, it was just sort of a random choice in the routing, but before that Dark World adventuring started taking place, we were talking about how the play seems to be go to Skull Woods. And so that's exactly what happened,
Shkoople is taking the, I'm pretty sure, longer way to these checks.
Probably didn't peek at Bumper Cave. Or no, probably did, because he went up the wait, no, I don't think he didn't peek at it. No. So, and again, given how long the cape has been in our inventory, i.e. the entire game, you sure you don't want that? Could come in handy.
So here it'll be for Shkoople. We'll probably see King's Tomb after, just in case it's a sword. But Shkoople has to know we might. I'm
not.
There's so little
Shkoople,
left.
Feels he is. Ooh, does Eykir have a fairy?
He does.
Dang
he
it.
got it from Super Bunny.
No, sorry. I mean, no bias. No bias. I'm a Shkoople fan. I'm sorry, folks.
I am too. But okay, so no King's Tomb. Shkoople not going to waste any time at all. So Shkoople is an entire TR behind. So I think we'll probably still see Shkoople do
Tile room first, obviously.
DM routing.
Tile room first.
Which what if there is so shkoople usually.
Big key guess game. Big key guess game. We gotta open it up. We've got like 3 seconds to do it. There are 22 checks. Guess a number between 1 and 22. And and if you're right, you'll get points. I'm sure a lot of you know it. The big key can be in any one of them. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's some rhyme or reason to it, but very little rhyme or reason to it. Whew! Almost missed that one. What a tragedy that would have been. Eykir going right side first. A lesser seen play. The left side first strats are increasingly common. Unfortunately, no small key, can't continue right
so
side.
This is an opportunity for divergence. I don't think that would flip the lead at all, but it would bring it much closer if the big key was in compass
that
room.
piece of heart. Eykir must be feeling comfy. I'm not sure I'd bonk the torch for a piece of heart. I mean, honestly, if I was on this pace, I would be feeling pretty comfy too. This has been a stellar race from Eykir. I haven't been watching it quite as closely as I've been watching shkoople's side. Apologies, Eykir, but the execution every time I've seen it has been pretty crisp outside of the Trinex fairy revival. But when you have a fairy, you go ahead and play it a little aggressive to maybe get a quicker fight.
Yeah, so shkoople has definitely time to make, and there's the big key in map chest. So that is check number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's going to be even more time lost for shkoople if he routes GT as he normally does. It doesn't look like
anybody guessed 8, but it looks like Parrot Lord is our closest. Professor Renderer, though, saying, oh, wait, never mind. They're not guessing, right? Are we gonna stop it? Yeah, there we go. Ooh,
so,
yeah, it's
Nephilim.
Wait, so 9, it's not Price is Right rules.
It is
By
not
Price of Right
rules.
rules. Oh man, Parrot Lord is robbed.
They're
Barker would be
infamously Kern, and I believe Incoherent once won the big key guessing game by answering 24. Somebody had asked how many silverless hits it takes with Master Sword to kill Ganon, and during the big key guessing game, and Kern answered 24, and it was behind Ice Armos or in Tile Room, and no one guessed higher than 20. So 24 was the closest, which
I don't know. I feel like it's gotta be sophisticated enough to split it between Meflin and Parrot Lord, but to go back to my attempts to draw the focus away from my obvious shkoople bias, this has again been a fantastic race from Eykir. At this point, Eykir's
check Laser Bridge for a sword.
I don't think so.
Okay,
at this
I wasn't
point,
sure.
I'm not sure it's gonna matter. Unless
I don't think so.
And plays out of his mind, and Eykir plays completely inside of his mind. Ooh, that's all right. That's better than I do at almost ever. I am very bad at the laser kills on Lambos too, and by laser I mean silver arrows. These are surprisingly tricky to time with the lag frames introduced by the turret there. Yeah, shkoople's gonna head for that laser bridge. And he gets a sword.
Gets a sword. Nice.
Maybe too little, too late, but because again, the bulk of Ganon's tower itself isn't really made any faster by Master versus Tempered. Funnily enough, usually Master to Tempered is kind of the most relevant sword upgrade. But in Ganon's tower, the enemies that it actually pits you against, it doesn't really make that much difference.
Yep.
Even with the fighter's sword, the gauntlet is relatively comfy. A lot of low health enemies in that in that section. Eykir will have a slightly trickier Moldorm too. Gets really good patterns though. And that's Moldorm 2 down. 2 bosses to go. And again, I mentioned this a while back. Aga 2 is a place where some time could be gained or lost. But this is a substantial lead, especially with the possibility of shkoople choosing an inconvenient routing through DT. So do you think that shkoople feels behind enough to maybe bank on going for a right side first play? Because if you bank on a right side first, that is pretty much going to lead you straight to the key. Because you don't go left and then right after going a hope room first.
Yeah, I don't think any, like, shkoople plays his game, so he's gonna do what he does, I think, which is left first.
Yeah, and that's
compass.
That's an approach I'm a huge proponent of. You know, no matter what you think may or may not be happening, just play your game. This is because I've had races where I thought I was doing horribly and I ended up winning, and I thought I was doing well and I ended up getting beaten by 10 minutes, just due to how my opponent played. So, if you play your game the best you can, you will deserve the result you get 100% of the time.
As Eykir drops into Ganon, a sword short.
Gets that nice double spin off of the trident.
Yeah, very nicely handled so far.
Not even taking any extra damage. He could afford it.
And I think that'll be nearly phase 1 done. I'm not counting. So that's phase 2. He has 1 hit, 2. 3.
Phase 2 is the most difficult in a low equipment scenario.
4.
Especially when you're thinking about going fast.
Yeah,
because the there's all those bats that fly around, so you'd like to minimize the number of phases you get, both from a safety and time perspective. But you get into scenarios where
and
like
there's
this, where
the last sword.
You can't hit him at all.
So, shkoople getting the most marginal of time saves back out of all that, all the extra checks he did.
Yeah,
Finds
Eykir
both
is set
other
up
swords
pretty well here. I don't think Eykir has any more safeties, but the dangerous part of the fight is
think
almost through.
Oh no, yeah, I think you're correct. There was a bottle of red potion.
Yeah,
in
that was the one that
Hookshot
picked
Cave,
up.
which Eykir did not do after Turtle Rock.
Yeah, as evidenced by the fact that he's on blue mail still. But yeah, so Eykir used his fairy in Turtle Rock and the blue potion just now. Perfect resource management, because just into phase 3, that should be all he needs for the rest of the fight. The possibility for anything to happen for the rest of this fight is pretty slim. Master Sword Silvers is slightly trickier. Master Sword Silvers is slightly trickier than Tempered Sword Silvers. but not enough to make any sort of difference. You usually only see slip-ups from silverless fights just because it's a more finicky strat. And a nice double to finish it off, and Eykir is going to take... So this game one between these two teams matchup?
Well, technically, this is the game 2. So get your GGs in chat for Eykir, finishing in first place with an official racetime.gg time of 1:34:09. Very well played.
Yeah,
but yeah,
fantastic.
The game 1 is between the Courage Pendant players, and that would be myself and Purdy Wong for 16-bit nerds at this point. Game 2 is between the Wisdom Pendant players, and that's Shkoople and Eykir here. And then game 3 is the Power Pendants, and that will be Flip Heel and Fred, aka Durf. Flip Heel for 16-bit nerds, and Fred, aka Durf, for We Need a Mentor. But with scheduling, and the first 3 games will be played regardless. So that is, they can be played really in any order, but I think they are still designated games 1, 2, and 3.
But yeah, that's one win on the board for 16-bit nerds. So it's a fantastic start to the playoffs for them. And we are joined here in the booth by Eykir.
GG.
What do you have to say for that? GG. Yeah, it was great.
Thanks. I was really worried at the end there. I screwed up my Ganon fight a little bit. Both of them. I could too. I was a little nervous going up there, and so I was only on Master Sword and thinking I have no idea how close Shkoople is.
Yeah, it was. You could see it a little bit, and that's sort of one of the sneakiest parts. Even when you've done a whole bunch of races, it's when you're in that scenario and you don't know if you might lose at any time. It's easy to start letting little bits of time slip through your fingers, and if it gets in your head, it can start piling on. But the Ganon fight in particular, I thought it seemed. It's not something you're disappointed with. That was not a disappointing Ganon fight. It's not like wasn't
the one you were
best.
hoping for, but
right.
You played it well. You made sure you weren't gonna.
You had that blue potion and you used it at the perfect time, and you didn't overextend, which is the most important thing to do at the end of a tough race.
Yeah, take it easy and don't try to get hits in that you can't get in. Although I screwed up that the last hit on the second phase when I accidentally went too far left and I spun myself into the fire mats. Had to use my potion.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
right.
better to again take it easy. I know the first time I ever got an expert item pool seed, and I had to do Master Sword Silverless Green Mail 8-heart Ganon. It took me an hour and a half to finally finish that fight for the first time.
Yeah,
and it was I could have done it much sooner if I hadn't been so eager to get as many hits in as I can at all times. Try to maximize it. If I'd taken it easy, I probably could have shaved maybe 8 minutes off at that time and finished it in an hour 22. Who knows?
Yeah, just had to be patient. And the funniest thing about that seed was Ether.
Yeah, that I had just finished talking about. You're probably thinking at this point it's probably likely that Ether's going to show up in Turtle Rock at this point, and then you go into Checkerboard Cave and or maybe
it's almost always on the doorstep, and it just happened to be this game. And I skipped a whole bunch of checks in Swamp because I'm thinking once I found Ice Rod there that I could potentially be in go mode. It just depends on medallions. I had 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went through it to get it done, went up to pod to get the flute to find out. Fortunately, Meyer told me it was Ether and not TR. That would have been worse.
So that was a huge difference in the race, was which medallions you found in which order. Shkoople's first trip into the Dark World was actually to Hype Cave and Green Pendant Swamp. He cleared it before anything else. And I don't know if you were counting items, but with 3 in there, you obviously go back in, right? If you're not in go mode.
Right, yeah.
So
I thought I was, so I didn't.
Right. So yeah. that was a big time commitment. Shkoople also went back for Hera Basement, and then the nail in the coffin was Shkoople, worked his way up, had mitts before doing Skullwoods, so ended up reading Ped, having one medallion, you finish off the pendants, and then you go to TR or Meyer and TR and hope
go to Meyer,
that you got him. And so Shkoople never did Graveyard Ledge before the dungeon rush.
Checking TR and yes, and it was just all off the back of that, just the decision of where you go afterwards. But
during
Shkoople,
during all that,
Has
Shkoople
caught
had a
up.
blazing fast
Yeah.
Ganon fight with his 2 extra swords, and is about to cross the bridge, and he finishes with an official race time of 1:39:33, a little more than 5 minutes behind, given some of the extra hurdles to go through there. Still a very well run race, but get your GGs in chat for Shkoople.
About like another routing thing I did early that may have helped me out here is that I went to Mini Moldorm Cave first and didn't go to the dam, so I didn't get the hammer. So when I hit Aga, I couldn't go south to Hype Cave. I could only go to Pod Eastern. So I think going that way meant I didn't get my Titan's mitts, and I was able to just go around the north side and do that part first without having access to both sides.
Yeah, we were a little confused, I think. When did you get did you get hammer before or after?
Well, after Pod.
The mountain.
I got after Pod.
It was before.
Oh no, before the mountain, because you did.
If you go up to the mountain, like you don't go up to the mountain if you don't have the hammer.
Yeah,
hook shot was over there.
I got
right.
the hammer before I went to the mountain.
Yeah. I just was. I noticed.
Yeah, go ahead.
We noticed that when you did get that hammer, you only went to Agina. Was there a reason that you didn't finish off Desert at that time when you had Fire Rod and Half Magic already? Was there something keeping you from it, or is it just kind of the whole mountain and Dark World gnawing at you?
The initial intention was to go over there and do Desert, but at that time, before I picked up the hammer, after I picked up hammer, then it's like, okay, all of the mountains open, including Hera. Desert, I can try to rope in with Meyer because I have the mirror. If I get the flute and the Titan's mitts, I can just do both at the same time. And if I don't find anything else, then I can just come back here. But the hammer also gives me Dark World access, so lots more checks open. Desert only having 2 items, and I know it gave us the book early, so it wanted us to go there, but there wasn't really anything there.
And
so I got lucky that way.
We are joined in chat by Shkoople. GG, dude.
GG. What a seed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Aga and Pedestal.
And you guys still both finished under 140.
Yeah, it was a pretty. It gave you the things you needed in a pretty friendly manner, all things considered. The 2 big differences in routing early were I guess there were 3. Shkoople had the hammer significantly earlier, but that didn't change much with the pearl where it was. But Eykir went to Waterfall, while Shkoople went to Hobo. And so Eykir got to loop in Eastern with a pod dip, waited on Desert, just wasn't looking for the lamp as long. And then obviously that Bombos, Eykir routed from the north down, so didn't have the mitts, so had a lot more reason to check those mirror checks, those North Dark World checks.
Yeah, I knew
when
I got up to TR and it was Bombo, so I was like, oh no. And then when I saw where it was, I was like, you could have routed this completely differently, and you could have had this by like minute 40, and I was very scared at that point.
Yeah, and I think we've all had those seeds where, you get an opening like that, it gives you all the things you need, you just kind of follow it in the right order, things to start falling into place. You find one medallion, and it's what you need for both dungeons. Like, we've all had that seed, and this was that seed except for the medallion part of that. I was like, man, you couldn't make them both Quake? Come on.
Or even Ether and Quake. I was so confident when I had both. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, TR's open.
Yeah, and
for
at
sure.
that point, we'd seen Eykir pick up Bombos already. So we were preparing for the worst, and then it came, and it was, and you still only finished, 5 minutes behind, which is, it seems like it would make a bigger difference than that, but that's what good recovery will do for you. Never
Yeah,
say
I will
die.
say
If,
that
if you'd said die when you found that when you didn't have the right medallion for it, then but
I will say that despite the less efficient GT route, because Eykir started in Hope Room, which meant that you kind of had to go left, whereas you had the option of doing Compass Room. The sword in there, helped, but getting both other swords was definitely made that less dramatic a time difference than it could have been. But
I was annoyed by the sword in GT, actually. I was like, I spent the time on Laser Bridge when I didn't need to.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting here.
Oh, was there one on Laser Bridge too? Oops.
Yeah. I was still on Master, so
it was a third
Oh,
chest.
so was I, but I got all the keys, so I just skipped Laser Bridge and went to try next. Figured
I'll
that was
check
the-
Laser Bridge for a sword usually.
Normally I would too, but I felt it was really close, so I didn't.
Yeah, it certainly
Yeah, no.
would have felt much closer from Eykir's perspective. Just the fact that when everything is falling together, you feel like you just got to assume that your opponent is just following the same logic that you are, because you don't really have to make any huge leaps of logic to find any of the stuff that you did.
No, it's everything does.
One thing I was wondering, shkoople, is did you have any thought of doing Dark Aga? Because once we saw that Moon Pearl, the question of whether that was a play to be considered, and this goes for Eykir too. How much were you willing to do before Dark Aga?
Personally, I would have thought about it if I'd finished. I don't know if it was sick kit or something left or stuff like that. But with more equipment, I might have considered it harder. But with a fighter sword and 5 hearts, it's
Yeah, we're at 5.
kind of weird. It's a risky decision. So it didn't. It was a thought, but it wasn't something I was going to do.
Same here.
Yeah, because there are a lot of things that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna look for the lamp at that point. We got the flippers, so flipper checks were the first thing I checked. It's lamp. As soon as I got lamp, I was gone.
Yeah, I was halfway to commit to the flipper checks. And I was like, I don't have Zora money. I can full clear Eastern. Maybe we'll get $20 out of that. And then I just got the lamp and waterfall fairy after that, and skipped Zora anyway, which felt really bad.
Yeah, we never saw what was on Zora actually.
Yeah, and speaking of those flippers, and the assorted paraphernalia that went along with it, what was the thought process behind the decision to go into Pendant Swamp so early?
I don't know. It's just something I did.
I felt like it made sense considering just how strongly it just gave you everything you needed for that dungeon. The heaviest thing that was hidden was the hook shot, and that was just in Paradox.
I was banking on the hook shot, and then it gave me 3 items, and I was just like, "There's no way I can skip this."
Yeah,
that was one of the sort of unfortunate parts of that routing, because at the point that Eykir made it there, it was very much more palatable to skip the entire left side.
I was actually stoked when I went in, because you walk in and get the ice rod, like, oh, dude, good decision. Let's see the mitts in the back, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, getting a required item in the first chest of Pendant Swamp, it's always a really tough decision for me. When you go in there, you get it. You're in there. You did it early. What do you commit to in the rest of the dungeon? And I'm sure you went in there thinking, okay, I'll do the back. It's green pendant. I'll probably get a few more items, and I'll skip left side. Let's hope the ice rod is, what's good here. I'll clear the rest. But then you get those 3 items left, and you have so much open, but do you really leave it? And yeah, I never know what to do there either, so I can't blame you for going back in.
It's actually one of those things, like in a tournament setting, that kind of makes you hesitate more. Like, I would normally skip those 3 items on a ladder race, just whatever. It's, but in a tournament, you kind of want to play safe and not make a boneheaded play like that. Which could
At that
cost
point,
you.
you still had a lot to go.
Yeah,
but,
wanna
I mean,
just
in the-
get swamp off the table.
Yeah, and in the end, it wasn't what cost you. It was.
Yeah, you guys
It-
were
it was
about
really just
30
down to
seconds
the-
apart.
Yeah.
30 seconds apart checking TR the first time.
Yeah.
Probably about a minute. So just there wasn't much left to do, and I knew you'd be getting to them relatively quickly. I didn't know if it would be... Pyramid Fairy makes the most sense because obviously anyone is going to have at least 2 medallions after having Mire done, and wouldn't check Pyramid Fairy before checking TR, so that was definitely in your best interest to check that. But yeah, I think all you had left was Catfish and Zora after that, correct? And Purple Chest.
Yeah, I have Purple Chest, Mimic Cave, and Catfish Zora. And then whatever I skipped in Ice and Mire. Which I think is 1 item in Ice and 2 in Mire.
That, I think the first chest of Mire... No, the first chest of Mire was a compass or map, I think, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, GG's to both runners. This was a fantastic race to watch. There was a lot of interest on both sides. Eykir was doing the north side of the Dark World as shkoople was doing the south, and we were just getting unique items and progression just out the ears in both. So it was a pretty wild race converging on TR there. So no complaints as a spectator, though. Obviously, as a teammate, I would I have a complaint or two about the seed, but
Yeah, 66% chance couldn't be today. That's okay, though. Can't win them all. But, yeah, I don't know. It was fun seed.
It was. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like any seed you get 162 in an hour 40 just feels good. You're checking a lot of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So looking forward, I think let's pull up the schedule here. We've got, I think that's all we. Oh no, we have one more today. Broadcasted on the ALTTPR League main channel. That'll be Please Clap versus Boomer Friendly. That'll be the Courage Pendant match between these two teams. Leoria of Light for Team Please Clap versus Dawn Venure of Boomer Friendly. And that's coming up here. Or actually, it's already... That's probably
it's coming
in
up-
progress.
No,
Never mind.
No, it's coming up here at 7:10 Eastern.
Which is an hour ago.
Oh, that's right.
But
converting
just
the wrong
starting about 20 minutes ago, Spoiled Leftovers, Mystic of Spoiled Leftovers facing McMonkey of New Hyrule Order is on the ALTTPR League 2. Both of those matches, I think, are still going. Tomorrow we have Jossum Sauce of Amish Paradise versus Obscure Lifeform of Noble Foxes. That'll be on the league main channel. So there's lots of stuff happening for the Invitational League. We have nothing else for tonight, but several matches tomorrow evening. So be sure to check back in tomorrow to find out if those get restreams. So I think that's all from me. Shkoople, Eykir, do you have any last thoughts?
No, GG. It'd be a fun one to watch back. It sounds like it was very close, except for one thing.
Yep, GG's everyone. Good luck to both of our teammates and in their future games. It'll be fun ones to watch. We have one on Friday as our game 2. Hope you'll on Friday, Gator.
Yeah, and Purdy Wong and I have yet to schedule ours, but that'll also be coming down the docket. And gotta dig out of the hole. So
Yeah, and as
Well,
always,
GGs again.
shout outs to our wonderful restreamer and tracker. We've got Phyllis T was tracking this for us, and we had Lemmy doing the restream. So shout outs to them because they made this happen. Without this, we couldn't have done them. Or without them, we couldn't have done this. I think I've done enough talking for the night. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. So I think that'll do it for us here on Speed Gaming for now. But GG's again, and have a great night, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And we'll see you next time.